Microphone check. Check. Can anyone hear me? Microphone check. If anybody can hear me, let me know, please.
So, my neighbors.
What's that? Okay. Yes, we do. Microphone check.
Trying to stay out of the way of your recording equipment here. Nice to meet you.
suggested, but he wouldn't let me.
Well, really, the older I get, the easier it is to stay home. So is this a made form, right? Yeah.
Kevin, how are you doing?
That was interesting today.
Yes, it was.
Hey, how are you?
Good evening. Just a real quick thing before we start here. Andrew is going to put something on social media, so he's going to get a fantastic selfie with everyone in it. So I wanted to give you a heads up so that on social media you actually see your faces and not the tops of your head unless it's what you prefer. But if you're right, look up here, Andrew's going to get that real quick.
If you would, please wave. Thank you.
Good evening, and welcome to the historic Long Hall. My name is Laura Raymer, and on behalf of the Farmington Regional Chamber, I welcome you to the St. Francis County Meet the Candidate Forum. This forum is sponsored by the Farmington Regional Chamber and will include my co-director, Candy Sarcone, as moderator. The Farmington Regional Chamber is an independent association of businesses and organizations standing together to grow a stronger economy. Our mission is to foster business success, improve the economic environment, and enhance the quality of life through business development, advocacy, leadership development, community engagement, and member services. The Chamber has designed the format for this event. Candidates this evening are representing 5 St. Francis County races. The 5 segments will allow each candidate 3 minutes for an opening statement, followed by 3 questions. Candidates will take turns answering questions with 2 minutes each and a 1-minute allowance for rebuttal to the person first answering that question. Closing remarks for each section will then be given 2 minutes each. All candidates have agreed to this format. The topics and questions were chosen by the chamber staff. None of the questions have been shared with the candidates or the campaigns. The audience is asked to remain silent during this evening's proceedings. No cheers, boos, or other interruptions, so that we may all focus on what the candidates have to say. No noise from this point forward, except for now, as we welcome our candidates. Representing for the presiding commissioner race, incumbent Harold Gallagher, and candidate Linda Dickerson Bell. For county clerk, Kevin Engler and Andrew Young. For recorder of deeds, incumbent Steve Ryder. And I have not seen yet, but he was invited, Jay Graff is also running this evening. For prosecuting attorney, incumbent Jared Mahiran. And candidate Melissa Gilliam. And for probate judge, incumbent Sean McCarver. And candidate Pat King.
At this time, we're going to ask if you have a cell phone, if you haven't already done so, if you would please turn that to silent mode. And we have quite a few people we'd like to recognize here tonight that are in attendance, some dignitaries. First of all, State Representative Mike Henderson. Thank you for coming. We have a Republican candidate for State Representative Dale Wright. Judge Sandra Martinez, and County Commissioner Gay Wilkinson, Public Administrator Gary Navini. We have Park Hills City Council Member Alan Coleman. And we also want to recognize the Park Hills Chamber of Commerce Director, Tammy Coleman, as well as and we have, I don't want to miss anyone, Dan, your county assessor. And if we've overlooked anyone, please forgive us. We're only human after all, right? We do want to thank you all for coming and for the candidates for participating. And with that, we're going to proceed with the questions as Lauren's indicated. Our first opening statement will go to Presiding Commissioner Harold Gallagher.
I'm Harold Gallagher and running for re-election as Presiding Commissioner. I've lived in St. Francis County since elementary school, graduated from Bismarck High School, and then graduated from the University of Missouri-Rolla with a degree in mechanical engineering. I served 2 terms as alderman for the city of Bismarck and 18 years on the Bismarck School Board. My wife Sandy and I live south of Farmington on a small farm and have 5 adult kids and 5 grandkids. Our children are active in law enforcement, military, and business. We are active in our church and with voluntary organizations.
Thank you. And now, Linda Dickerson Bell.
Thank you. As she said, my name is Linda Dickerson Bell. I am currently employed by Habitat for Humanity. I'm the executive director there. I graduated high school from Central High School in 1990. I went on to further my education at Mineral College and also Unitech Career Center. I live just outside of Bonne Terre. We enjoy country living out there, and that is the only reason that I got out of politics to begin with, is because I moved out of town. Love it out there, but certainly want to improve the county as much as I can by continuing to serve the communities. I served as Mayor Pro Tem for the City Council for many years. I served on the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Community Betterment Organization, and many other boards and organizations over the years. I have served as the treasurer for the Park Hills Chamber, Park Hills Leadington Chamber, we consolidated, for many years. And again, I worked for East Missouri Action Agency for 18 years, and then I also worked furthering my education with writing grants for USDA. For the last 20 years, I've been a home builder, helping those in need of home ownership. I was awarded in 2014 the KFMO Sweat Equity Award by Kelly Valley, and in 2018 the KTJJ 210% Award by Chad Speaker. Just earlier today, I was surprised with the Hometown Hero Award through Farmington Educational Administration, and I've dedicated my life and my career to public service. I am not a politician. I never want to be a politician. If I get in there and I'm serving as a politician, please boot me out, because I really only want to be a public servant and help those in need. I have a great deal of knowledge of local government, budgeting, road and bridge maintenance construction, as well as employee management. I saw a need in the county, and when I see something that needs to be fixed, I fix it. I'd appreciate your vote on November the 6th.
Actually, you get the first question. So the first question, you'll have 2 minutes to respond. Some of the more recognizable first-class counties in our region include Cape Girardeau, Jackson, Jefferson, and St. Charles County. Please identify any programs or policies utilized in these or other first-class counties in Missouri that you believe should be implemented in St. Francis County, and explain why.
All right, so I am learning still about the first-class county status. We approved it in 2013. It went into effect in 2014. I have done my research, and as far as I know, St. Francis County, the only thing that we're currently doing to what we should be doing as a first-class county is paying our commissioners more. I know that that was done with the efforts of trying to recruit better candidates for those positions, trying not to get people who are just retired and looking to further their financial status or the retirement statuses. I do know that we could and should be having a prescription drug program. We actually adopted one in 2017. We're just failing to administer that program. There are many, many things that we should be doing. I mean, there are such things as you could go forward and be a charter county. There are things such as planning and zoning. Those are not most popular things, but I do think that those are things that we together, not just us as a commission, but we as citizens, we need to decide what it is that we want to do and do those things and further that. 1 minute. All right. Again, there are just so many things out there that we need to just start looking at, and again, just listening to the people, stop hushing people, stop trying to keep people from coming to the meetings, and then just start acting more like a first-class county should act. Again, I know it's planning and zoning. I know that there are some things with your law enforcement. There are several grants and different things that are available, and those are the things that we should be looking at. Popular or not, those are what we should be doing.
Thank you for your response. And now, Harold Gallagher, the same question. Did you want the question repeated?
No, it's fine. All we've been doing in the last 3+ years is getting our county up to the status of first county, first class. Everything was in bad shape, frankly. The buildings were dilapidated, and we've got all that done. I think our overall building condition now is the best it's ever been. Systems and methods are improved too. There are other things we need to do. We don't have a human resources department or even a specialist in that field. We have 200 employees. So there are systems like that we still need to upgrade. And we're working on that. We've got a plan for it, and we'd like to continue that. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda, you do have a 1 minute rebuttal if you choose.
Although I know human resources management is important, I do have experience in that manner. I'm not looking to hire anyone for that position. I'm really just looking to get in there and have the current commissioners to work like they should be working and get that position filled, and also working alongside with the county clerk. That is one of the main responsibilities of the county clerk.
And Harold, the second question will go to you first. And that is, transportation is critical to the success of a community. What are your thoughts about the public transportation options currently available in St. Francis County? Do we have enough options? If not, what will you do to increase those?
Well, we don't have trains and we don't have boats and that kind of public transportation. That's what you're talking about. We do have good highways. We do have good airport. We have 400 miles of roadway in our county, and we're doing our best to maintain that. We just issued a $230,000 expenditure this last week for road upgrade. We're constantly working on that, and our roads are in pretty good shape and getting better. Thank you.
This is actually something that I do have some experience with. When I served on the city council, I did chair that committee. We actually had a forum where we would have people to come in and state their needs for the different communities and areas and what roads needed to be done. And then I personally went out and visited each of the roads, and we had a grading system, whether it was in fair condition, poor condition, failing condition, or good condition. And that's something I would like to see our current commissioners doing, and if I should be elected, that's something I would do.
Okay. So the third question goes to you, Linda, first. And that is, she's getting her steps in today. I'm sorry. The third question is, much has been reported in the news over the past several years regarding the opioid epidemic in St. Francis County. With the increasing rise of drug use and deaths in our community, as presiding commissioner, how would you address this problem, and what steps will you take to improve the outside perception of St. Francis County as a center of illegal drug activities?
I could not agree with you more. You asked what we had in common with other counties that were first-class counties. I wish I could say that we were equal with those counties in our drug problem, but unfortunately, St. Francis County is here. Cape being number 2 is down here. We obviously have a problem. It's prescribing, overuse, and what do we do with them? I mean, what is the correct answer? Are we throwing them in jail and throwing away the key? I'm not sure that that's the answer. We need to get these people into rehab programs. I recently attended out of the Christian Life Church a program that they're hoping to start where they can actually rehabilitate some of these people. It is a problem. It's killing our kids, it's killing our families, and it's something that we certainly need to work together to get a resolution to. We need to take back our emergency rooms, regain our mental health. I think a lot of the drug problem goes back to mental health. We need to stand together and demand that our county be compensated for what has been done right underneath our noses. We need to stop standing by while other counties are moving forward, and we must take, again, a stance against putting the drugs on the streets. 1 minute again, I'm sorry. While passing prescription drug monitoring program in 2017, again, I think we need to get that up and make sure that we're doing what we can be doing. Whether it's an elected position, whether it's a political opinion, what it is, it's killing our families. It's taking back our lives. And again, I'm not doing this to be a politician. I'm doing this because it's a public service and it's something that needs to be fixed. I don't know the answer to everything, but I'm willing to learn.
Harold, did you want the question repeated?
Just because we weren't the first to enter the opioid litigation, we certainly are interested in it. The paperwork's on my desk now. We've spent this time negotiating for the better deal for the county. If we had gone in at first, the contingency fees would have been 30%, and there would have been a possibility of legal fees on top of that, whether we want or not. And we didn't want our county taxpayers the possibility of paying those legal fees. By delaying it, now the standard on this 25% contingency with no legal fees. So we saved about 20% right there on the cost of any winnings, and there will be no legal fees on it. So we're doing it, we're right on top of it. We will be getting the final answer as well as the guys that were in it first. We just didn't buy the first used car that came along.
You're allowed 1 minute rebuttal.
And I'm not providing the first used car that went along either, but I'm also making a decision that impacts people's lives sooner than later.
All right, and the second race that we will be addressing tonight is for county clerk. Prior to the meeting, we had a coin toss, and Andrew Young won the coin toss and will be giving the opening statement.
Good evening. As mentioned, my name is Andrew Young, and I am running for county clerk. Before I get started, I would like to thank everybody for taking time out of your days to be able to be here to listen to the candidates, to get to meet us, because an informed voter is the most powerful resource to affect change. Just a little background. I'm a lifelong resident of St. Francis County. I graduated from North County High School, Middle Area College, and Webster University. While a student at Webster University, I had the opportunity to serve as an intern at the Capitol in Jeff City, where I served under Representative Doug Beck, and that was a very awesome experience. My father is a union iron worker. I once had thoughts of joining him in the construction trades. However, a near-fatal car accident just north of Montclair in May of 2010 left me with a broken neck and temporary paralysis from the neck down. Doctors gave my parents very little hope that I would ever get off the ventilator, let alone be able to walk. After 4 grueling months between Children's Hospital and the Rehabilitation Institute of St. Louis, I was able to walk. I spent an additional 2 years in outpatient therapy, honing my abilities. Coinciding with the countless hours of therapeutic workouts, I received an immense amount of love and support from many citizens within St. Francis County. If it wasn't for the generous acts of kindness, I would not be where I am today. I would not have made it this far. Construction work as a career went out the door. Higher education wasn't necessary. I changed majors a few times, but very soon I discovered I had a passion for government and history. But whenever I learned that Mark Hedrick, the current county clerk, announced that he was going to retire, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to be able to get in and be able to serve everybody for all the support I had received. The duties of office are wide and varied. I will work full-time for everyone in this county. I look forward to increasing voter registration and participation, as well as providing fair and safe elections. I wish to work with local schools to educate students nearing the voting age about the importance of their vote and the electoral process. As a county clerk, I will serve as the official secretary to the county commission, keeping an accurate record of all commission meetings, orders, rules, and proceedings, along with following state law. I know I have big shoes to fill, and the office of county clerk is an important one, but I am eager to rise to the challenge and move this county forward. Thank you.
And now Kevin Engler will give his opening statement.
Good evening. Thank you for coming, and thank you, Farmington Regional Chamber, for hosting this. 32 years ago this week, my wife and I moved here. I was born and raised in Festus, and then went to college in Southwest Missouri, had a degree in marketing and finance. 32 years I've worked for Edward Jones. It's enabled me to make a career that I could do public service on the side. I started that a long time ago. We assumed leadership positions in things like the president of the JCs, the Lions Club. My wife and I saw a need. We started what is now the United Way and ran it for over 2 years, covering all the costs. Got involved with the Chamber of Commerce by running Country Days a couple times. You might remember we had the year where we had Dolly Parton and the Clydesdales. That was one of the years that I ran it. Assumed the presidency of the Chamber years ago, and we tried to make things go forward. We did a lot of growth in that period of time. But one of the things when I retired, I said I wanted to set about a goal of building a civic center. And we did that. We got it done with the help of a lot of people. But people don't remember, 40% of the people voted against it. Sometimes you have to fight through things. We got it done. Next year I joined the city council as a councilman. Year after that, I assumed the mayor role. We had a lot of success. We doubled our sales tax in 6 years without raising our sales tax rate. We brought in companies like National Products, Centene Corporation. Unfortunately, within that time period, we lost Huffy, Trimfoot Production, Builtwell, and we had to replace those. We worked with city councilmen like Dan and Jim to make things happen here, and we did. We were fortunate enough to build the civic centers along with the water park, along with the Centene Center, now along with the park. I'm going to dispel a couple of the internet rumors. I did not name the park after myself, but it's now Inglewood Park. We needed that facility. Another thing you see on the internet is I turn people away from my business. You don't bring in $500 million and manage it by turning people away. Barb's husband, L.J. Miller, was on my council. He was the chairman of finance. Now I hear that we had financial problems during my tenure as governor on the internet. Nothing could have been farther from the truth. We were able to cash flow the water park without doing any debt. We had 6 clean audits. So we prepared, when I say we, the people that I worked with, we prepared this town to grow. We have grown. I've learned management. I've set tax rates. I've managed money. I've managed people. And I think I've prepared myself for this next role as your county clerk. Thank you.
Okay, and Kevin, you have the first question.
I have the first question.
Providing access to public information is an integral part of the county clerk job. What improvements will you make to increase access to public records?
That's a great question. I'm going to go down the state with the other first-class counties. I think we should aspire to be the best of the best. We're going to look for best practices. Besides, the auditor's putting a lot of things online now. It's making it available. We're going to have more and more things online. We could have a county portal, which a lot of that information you can go to and then find the information. I know other first-class counties are doing it. That's one thing. The county clerk's position is diverse. It does the human resource management. It sets the tax rates. Works on the Board of Equalization when somebody contests their tax rates, and then has to reconcile all taxes to go back to the collector and the assessor and the auditor to know what money that we have coming in, make sure that everything's proper, everything has to balance. This is not an easy position. Besides managing 180 people, 6 to 8 full-time and 170-something part-time for the elections, plus keeping the voter registration rolls current, there's a lot of things to do. So we're going to try to find out from other first-class counties what is the best practices that they do that makes it more efficient so that the people can have access to any information they want. And that's what I'll try to do. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. And Andrew Young, same question. That question was, providing access to public information is an integral part of the county clerk job. What improvements will you make to increase access to public records?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the second half of that.
What improvements will you make to increase access to public records?
What improvements would I make? I think a lot of the things that are currently public are easy to access, but I believe that we need to update the website some. Yes, they just got a new layout, but a lot of that information needs to be updated. I believe that we need to add more information that a lot of people, like common questions that people would be asking about voter registrations and about where they can register to vote and everything like that, and absentee ballots. I want to really reach out to the young adults to work with them to increase voter registration. And I think it's very important for everybody to voice their opinions. And I would love to be able to set up something kind of like a suggestion box, perhaps, and to be able to hear from people as to for what problems that they're having there at the county clerk's office. And that way I'd be able to solve whatever issues that they are experiencing.
And you have the second question now? Kevin, did you want to rebuttal? Kevin, or Andrew? Oh, okay. So the second question is, Andrew, for you. What new processes or technology will you use to handle elections more efficiently, and what is your timeline for implementation?
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Mm-hmm. What new processes or technology will you use to handle elections more efficiently, and what is your timeline for implementation?
I believe what we have now is very effective. I think that that is working very well. I love to have the idea that I love the fact that we have the paper roll as a backup. That way for any issues that any voter may be having, we can always go back, look at the paper rolls, and see that this is how people voted, this is what they wanted. So if we ever make any changes, if I ever make any changes to the way that people vote, there will always be a paper backup. That way we can always fall back on something to be able to be sure how people voted. Thank you.
Kevin, same question to you. Did you get that repeated?
Thank you. A few years ago, we went to electronic balloting. The key to that, though, is our workers at the polls have to be kept current on all the changes. That's going to be the most difficult thing, is having 180 people that only work a couple times a year keep current on technology changes in the election process. That's going to be my challenge. We're going to try to do things a little bit different, maybe have some part-time people in the election part rather than hiring our empty spot right now, that they can work a little bit longer with the actual election officials at each precinct, and then we will have more hands-on supervision. The other thing we'll be doing is our website now is up as I think this past week, and we will be hopefully using that so people can follow electronically. The old days of going down to the courthouse and waiting for the numbers to come in and have us get up on a ladder and write across the board, and everybody says, oh, here's the precinct from Park Hills 2, and those days are over. Now they come in on electronic sheets. Now that was a little problem last time because they had to count the ballots, and we all had to sit out on the floor out in the hallway. That needs to be eliminated that's an easy thing. But to put it on a website where people in real time, just like you, the Secretary of State's portal, is to go on the website and see what the vote count per precinct and cumulative is important. And that's what we'll attempt to do. Thank you.
Andrew, did you wish to make a rebuttal statement? No? Okay, Kevin, so the next question is to you.
Okay.
With the threat of cybersecurity being a concern for many, what safety measures need to be in place to ensure the ongoing security of computerized voting systems, voter registration, and the act of voting, to ensure voting results from St. Francis County accurately reflect the will of the voters?
It's great questions. It's key, especially with our voter registration rolls and also our electronic voting mechanisms. We have to make sure that we do everything possible that people can't get into it. That's too big for our county. We are going to have to go statewide and look at other programs and how it's being done. The state of Missouri has put money in the budget for that purpose, to secure our websites, to secure the voting website. We will have to work in conjunction with other first-class counties and with the state of Missouri to ensure that our voter registration rolls, that people aren't voting in multiple places, and that the ultimate voting machines cannot be tampered with over the internet. And so if we will do that and work with them, but it's too big a project to go out and do software in St. Francis, it would be cost prohibitive. So what we need to do is work with the state of Missouri and the other large counties in conjunction to buy programs that will assure the safety and security and the integrity of the voting process.
Thank you for your answer. Andrew, did you need the question repeated? Okay. With the threat of cybersecurity being a concern for many, what safety measures need to be in place to ensure the ongoing security of computerized voting systems, voter registration, and the act of voting, to ensure voting results for St. Francis County accurately reflect the will of the voters?
Well, I know the way that people vote now. All of the information that is kept with the voter rolls is not connected to the internet on voting days. So whenever somebody goes out and casts their ballot, that information is not connected to the internet, so it's going to be technically impossible to hack that. The only way to do that is if somebody actually goes in and tampers with the machine, which we will have people on scene at the moment that is going to be guarding that from happening. So the information of the voters actually casting the ballots, that is not going to be tampered with. That is going to be counted. We're going to have paper backups just to ensure that everything is accurate. And then as for voter rolls, as for who registers to vote, that is a very difficult thing to keep up. That, as Engler mentioned, that would have to be required a statewide thing because somebody can possibly register in 2 different locations, but it's going to be very difficult to keep up with the upkeep of that. It's going to be more than just a one-man job. But I believe that this is something that really is not tampered with much. But as I mentioned, the vote, it's not tampered with. It is not connected to the internet, and it will not be hacked. Thank you.
Kevin, did you wish to make a rebuttal?
No, you are closed now. All right. No, thank you.
So the third race that we will now address is that for Recorder of Deeds, which is Steve Greiner. And we did receive word that Jay Graff is ill and was unable to attend. So Steve, if you want to make your opening statement, then we will pose the 3 questions with you with the same time limit in place.
All right, thank you very much. I'm Steve Greiner. I'm the Recorder of Deeds for St. Francis County, and I'd like to thank the Farmington Regional Chamber for hosting this and for the citizens to come out and to listen to us candidates talk about the issues so that you can get a better idea of who you want to vote for. And I appreciate you coming out because you didn't have to come out and do this. I was born and raised in Bismarck, graduated from Bismarck High School. When I was in high school and when I was attending Mineral Area College, I graduated from Mineral Area College with an associate's degree in construction technology. I grew up on a dairy farm and we learned to work hard. I mean, there was a lot of weekends you didn't get off. You had to take care of the cattle all the time, and I learned hard work. That's something I try to carry over to the recorder's office because that's what it's all about, is trying to help the citizens get their things done. You know, a lot of times you're coming in, you need to look up your deeds, you need to look up your marriage license. That's what we're there for. And after I got out of college, I went on to work at GRW Engineers. The reassessment maps that they work with now, I helped draw a lot of those. And that gave me a good background for that. And then I went on to work for Arcadia Valley Abstract Company, which is now American Heritage Abstract Company, and they're in DESLOGE. We covered 5 counties with 2 people. So we learned to work hard, try to do the research, get it out. It gave me a good background. I was fortunate enough that the prior recorder said he wasn't going to run again, and then he decided to run. He asked me if I'd run. So we both got out, campaigned hard, and I was fortunate enough to win in 1986. Took office in 1987. He did a great job. For the technology that was there, he progressed as well. That set precedence for me, that I want to keep striving, keep making things better in the office. And by his example, that's what gives me the drive to keep making things better. We've taken things that we didn't have a computer system at all to one of the top recording systems in the state of Missouri, and I work with the computer company to come up with some new things to be able to do it. I know the assessor's office, we help work with them to where they used to do the property change forms by hand. Now they generate them off our system, so it saves time and money for the citizens of St. Francis County. I want to continue to try to do these things for the citizens of St. Francis County.
Thank you for that. Your first question is, if elected as St. Francis County Recorder of Deeds, what are the top 3 priorities you would like to accomplish?
One of the biggest ones is getting all the old records digitized. We were fortunate enough to get the grants. Last year we got a $25,000 grant. This year we got a $12,500 grant. And these are available because we got the law changed in order to be able to use our preservation money. Before it had to come from general revenue. We got the laws changed where we could do that. So by getting these grants, we did 55 books last year. We're doing 25 or more if we can this year. We've taken the index books, we've scanned those, and now we're there on our website where people can actually go in there. They have to pay a fee to be able to go in there and do it, but we have subscriptions like for Laredo where they can go in there and look at this, and they can look at the index books without actually coming in the office. So that's one of the main things that I want to do, and plus keep the budget down and then try to keep things more streamlined for everybody, keep updating the computer system.
Which leads to our second question. What is the current process for obtaining records from the Recorder of Deeds office? Would you change this process, and how, or why not would you?
Our process now, if you need a copy of the deed, you can come in and actually look it up, or we can look it up for you and get it. Copy of the marriage license, you can come in, or you can request it by mail, you can request it by email, you can actually do it online if you want to through the tapestry credits that we have. They can go in and look at it, and they have to pay a fee to be able to do those things. I want to try to keep updating things to where things are easier for people to be able to get, but by using the email system, people being able to call, if they have a booking page, we can send it to them, we fax things, we email things to people. So we're trying to always update this type of process so that people can get stuff in a hurry. I know a lot of real estate people, they use this to be able to go in there and look at it and be able to get a copy or get a copy of the easement, copy of the plat. We've digitized all the old subdivisions and surveys so that people can actually readily access them on the computer system. So we're trying to always work with these things, trying to modernize, make things more readily available for the citizens to be able to get.
Thank you. Third question and last is, the Sunshine Law especially applies to several county offices, including the County Clerk Office, County Commission, and Recorder of Deeds. Please explain how the Sunshine Law applies to the Recorder of Deeds office and how you will ensure the office is in compliance.
The Sunshine Law only affects certain things in the Recorder's office because we have a separate set of statutes that covers how much a copy of the deed, how much a copy of a survey, and a marriage license, or a certified copy of a marriage license. So our job is to try to make sure that we comply with Sunshine, but we also have separate statutes that set it aside to where the Sunshine Law is mainly for contracts or something like that. But a person can't do a Sunshine Law request in order to get a copy of the deed. They can request that, but it's not actually under the Sunshine Law. So the Sunshine Law only affects us on contracts or something of that sort. On the day-to-day basis, we're not affected with those, but we want to comply with those. And we have, at our conventions, we always go over the Sunshine Law to make sure we comply with everything that's going on with the Sunshine Law.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we are going to take about a 10-minute intermission to allow everyone to use the facilities if needed, and we will resume with the prosecuting attorney race.
For the record, I was thinking. Can you walk in front here?
Yeah, go right on ahead.
Are you on pause?
No,
I was thinking, man, I could never.
I can't pause it on live.
I don't love this part. I love the other part though. So I'm just gonna take a look at that. But I don't want to walk in front of this camera. I'm going to go behind your camera. How about that?
I didn't really want to take a break. I wanted to go right straight through.
Saving the best.
You know, the whole reason why we created it was to come together, you know, and be civilized about it. They do. Great. Fantastic. Who came up with those questions? Just you guys, or was it? Yes. Yep.
Good deal. I'm glad you're doing that. We're doing it from our page also.
Well, with both angles.
Yeah. Or, she said they were commenting on hers that it was echoing.
Nobody's really.
I asked the sound. They said the sound is fine.
I did a sound check. Everybody was able to hear me. Apparently, they can hear all the candidates because somebody would have said something.
Okay. Good deal. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
We'll be starting the first session here in a little under 3 minutes.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, we're doing it now. Yes.
want to get started again. We did want to mention that the candidates forum tonight is being broadcast on Facebook Live on the Farmington Regional Chamber Facebook page, and it will be recorded there, so if you do wish to reference any of the responses or questions, you certainly can do that on that page. And we will resume with the prosecuting attorney race, and Jared McHugh will have the opening statement.
First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jared McHugh, and I'm the prosecuting attorney. I'm running for re-election this year, obviously. I'd like to take this time to thank the Farmington Regional Chamber for putting this on. I would like to thank every one of you for coming out and getting a chance to know the candidates a little better and find out what they're about, what their beliefs are, what they're going to do the next 4 years. I also want to take a chance to thank each of the people up here that are running for office, because it's a calling, and it's something that even if opponents are bickering or fighting, what they're doing is they believe they're helping serve the community. So thank you to each one of the people that are taking the time to put forth that effort. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in the area, grew up in a union family, and graduated from North County High School in 1997. Went on a baseball scholarship to East Central Junior College in Union, Missouri. I stayed 1 year there, and then I transferred to William Penn University up in Oskaloosa, Iowa, a very small little school up there. Majored in history and government, and a minor in psychology. And after college, I moved back home, and then went to law school in Oklahoma City. And during the time there, I spent a lot of time working on different types of things that come through the law school. I was on the moot court team, different competitions that would come through. Found that I really enjoyed criminal law. Moved back home and had a private practice for about 1.5 years. And a position became available as an assistant prosecuting attorney. And I had already spent a lot of time working on criminal cases and civil cases, so I had a lot of different availability to learn, and a lot of things that I already had under my belt. So as an assistant prosecutor, I learned the system here in St. Francis County. I learned the courts. I learned the judges. I learned what the normal cases kind of transpired here, what a standard offer was, what a good offer, what a bad offer, what kind of cases typically went to trial. After about 3.5 years, I was appointed to be the prosecuting attorney by Governor Jay Nixon. And since then, I have been through one election and took each case that comes through as a very serious case. In my time, I've had, unfortunately, there's been a lot of murder cases, but I've been very successful in all of the cases that I've prosecuted. As we stand here right now, I have a 97.2, I think, conviction rate at trial. With all the trials that I've had, bench trials and jury trials, so it is one of the highest figures in the state. The reason is because I dedicate my time and energy into making sure that each one of these cases is done correctly. It's not something that you ever take for granted. So whenever I go to work every day, I'm still excited about it. I still want to do everything to help victims. I want to do what's right by the county, and I look forward to 4 more years to continue to make that happen. Thank you.
Now, Melissa Gilliam with her opening statement.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Melissa Gilliam. I want to also start out by thanking the Chamber of Commerce, thanking everybody for coming, thanking Laura, Katie, and Buffy in particular for all the work you guys have done tonight. So I'm running for prosecuting attorney because I possess the integrity, the professionalism, and the experience that this office needs. I basically, in 1991, I graduated from Farmington High School. While I was there, I met my now husband, Daniel Kellogg. We didn't get married then, though. But we met, I graduated in 91, and I went on to Mizzou, and I graduated there in 1995 with, I majored in psychology and minored in political science. I went on to law school in the University of Kansas City. I graduated in 1998. I became a practicing lawyer in Colorado. I took the bar there first, and I was a deputy district attorney in Colorado Springs for 2 years. So I was a prosecutor there for 2 years. I handled misdemeanor cases, all types, anything thrown at me, I handled them. In 2000, I moved back to Missouri, where I started in the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office, which is the prosecuting attorney's office for the St. Louis City, in 2001. Actually, I got sworn in to work there the same day Jennifer Joyce did, who was my boss at the time. I was handed misdemeanor cases, drug cases, gun cases, property crimes, burglaries, worked my way up into robberies, kidnappings, arsons, and homicides, unfortunately. I handled all of those cases. I tried many of them to a jury trial. I successfully prosecuted most of them. I don't know the exact percentage of conviction rate because unfortunately I didn't write down every single one I had. But I was successful in a lot of them, and that included my murder cases. And because of my successful prosecution, I was awarded twice the Excellence in Prosecution Award. I was awarded that in 2008 for my successful prosecution of a murder for hire, and also in 2012. I had the distinct pleasure of being a professor, an adjunct professor at St. Louis University, where I taught students trial techniques. So basically I took law students who wanted to be lawyers and I taught them how to try a case. I did that at St. Louis University for 3 semesters. Then I did that at Emory University for 2 of what they called their trial technique boot camps. After that, I moved here in 2014. I continued to drive to the city, but the drive wasn't having it, so I left there. I started my own firm last year, and I decided to run for office. And I'm asking for you to vote for me for prosecuting attorney. Thank you.
Jared, you will have the first question, and that is, what do you think are the most significant challenges facing the prosecuting attorney's office, and how do you intend to address those challenges?
Great question. Well, there's obviously several things that are kind of going on with the prosecutor's office. One of the things that's constantly brought up is the opioid epidemic that we're facing, not just in this county, but across the nation. And I think that as a prosecutor, you have certain resources available that you're able to use and utilize. One of those is obviously to make sure that you recognize the people that have these addictions. That's the first thing that you have to do in any case. And so the programs that we have available right now allow us to screen some of these people for drug court. Not everybody should be a participant, but we do utilize it as much as possible. We also need to have programs available right now that probably are somewhat underutilized, but to have screenings for them to see if they can seek treatment. Unfortunately, as we deal with these opioid epidemics, one of the biggest problems that we see is that there is an availability of people to sell and distribute these drugs. And basically what we see with those people is that they are preying on the weaknesses of others. And what I believe is that you have to have a firm prosecution. You have to be very stern with those people because, again, they're not the ones that are having the problems. They're the ones that are preying on the problems, and they're making it worse for families. They're making it worse for loved ones. They're making it very difficult to actually work and live in a community like this. Again, this is not something we deal with just in St. Francis County. We deal with it across the United States. So I plan to use programs that are available now. I plan to hopefully open up some other programs with the Veterans Court to allow people that may be suffering from PTSD that are veterans. And even though there's one in Butler County, I think we need one locally. So that would be the next steps that I'm going to use to continue on with the prosecutor's office. Thank you.
Melissa, do you need the question?
No. So I believe there are 2 main problems that face us here in St. Francis County. One, I think, is a lack of transparency. A lot of people don't know what goes on with the criminal justice system. They don't have the information available to them. They're very confused. When you're the victim of a crime and you've had something happen to you, you don't get any information. It's not easily available. So I think that is a problem that faces St. Francis County, and it needs to be addressed. Obviously, the information needs to be available. It needs to be available on a quicker basis, I guess you could say. There needs to be more education in the community about what people are facing when they're in the criminal justice system. I agree that our drug epidemic is a huge problem, but it's not just opioids. I mean, opioids is clearly a problem, and it's a fast killer. That's why you hear about these opioid overdoses. But you also have meth in the community, and that's a slow killer. And we need to address all of those drug problems. I was appointed guardian ad litem in many cases in the last year or 2, and the children, and the guardian ad litem is appointed to represent children. And normally and usually in these cases, one or more parent is addicted to drugs. And these children, they have no one to watch out for them other than the guardian, and they're affected by these drugs. So when they see their parents go through it, they're affected, and they have mental, obviously have issues that result because of that. So we need more education in the community. We need a younger age. We need to educate the children earlier to know that they're going to be faced at some point in their life with choices and decisions to be made, and they need to turn the cheek. They're walk away when they're offered drugs and not start. And we need to get that information to them at an early age. I agree that the drug court is an excellent resource, and the Veterans Court, it's underutilized. Right now we have 9 or 10 people in it, when we can have in St. Francis County 25 people. In the Veterans Court, we refer to. Thank you.
I would have to respectfully disagree a little bit with my opponent with the transparency issue. Obviously, in the prosecuting attorney's office, we're as transparent as we possibly can be. As you all are mostly aware, obviously there are things in the legal community that we can't share due to statutes, due to rules, due to ethics confines. But the way we do it in the prosecutor's office now is obviously we have 5 attorneys, that's including myself. We try to make contact with victims as readily as possible, try to call them back as much as we possibly can. And of course, I have a victim advocate that works with people on a daily basis. They make constant contact with victims, they call them back and let them know what's going on with their cases, and we try to send out as many letters as we can, meet with people on a weekly basis, Monday mornings through Monday afternoons. I'm usually full, and trying to work with as many people as I can to let them know what's going on with their cases. So with regards to transparency, unfortunately there are some confines that we work within, but we try to do everything we can to make sure that people know what's going on because it's important. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. The next question goes to Melissa, and that is, what are the most valuable characteristics and measurements of a successful prosecuting attorney?
What are the
most valuable characteristics and measurements of a successful prosecuting attorney?
A successful prosecuting attorney, the most valuable measurement. Well, a successful prosecuting attorney needs to have integrity. They need to have professionalism. They need to have experience. They need to know how to get into a case and seek justice for the victims of that case. They need to be able to do that and also be mindful of the constitutional rights of the accused as well. There's a lot of different attributes that anyone can say about a prosecuting attorney, but I think those are the most important. I think there needs to be forward thinking when it comes to the prosecuting attorney. You can't just sit back and wait for people to come to the criminal justice system. You have to seek out and educate the community about what the underlying causes are that brings people into the system. And the way you do that is with data and research and know what your community is facing. So I think education is key, and it has to start happening, and I think that needs a forward-thinking prosecutor who's willing to do that.
Jared, same question to you. Did you need it repeated?
Yes, please.
What are the most valuable characteristics and measurements of a successful prosecuting attorney?
To measure a prosecutor, what you have to look at is the passion they bring to their job. It's the caring and understanding when you're dealing with victims. There's nobody that is more important to any criminal case than a victim. While prosecutors may deal with hundreds or thousands of cases, a victim is dealing with one. And when you're dealing with that case, you have to be compassionate, understanding, believing. You have to sit down with them, and at the end of the day, whatever you can do as a prosecutor, you have to try to do to help a victim. That's the most important thing that makes a successful prosecutor. You may not win every case. You may not be successful in every prosecution. But if you are successful in helping a victim, then you're successful as a prosecutor. I truly believe that that's one of the main attributes that any successful prosecutor has, is to be mindful of victims. And then, of course, the other thing is you have to have a drive. You have to have a drive to go forward with the cases. And it's not the easy cases. Anyone can try an easy case. Every prosecutor will tell you that they've had easy cases come through the door, they look at them and they think, well, this is a slam dunk. It's prosecutors that try the hard cases are the ones that are successful. It's when you take a very strong look at a case, like a murder case, and unfortunately I've had a lot. I've been very successful in that because of my drive. I take every case seriously, I try to sit down, I work with the victims, and I try to make sure that at the end of the day, whatever I can do to make their case work for them, and get some closure is what you have to do. At the end of the day, when you go through the cases, you have to try the tough ones. You have to make sure that that's what's done. It's very easy to sweep a tough case under the rug or look at it in a different fashion. I'm a prosecutor that takes on the tough cases. I'm never a figurehead prosecutor. I've tried as many cases as anybody in the office within the last few years. So taking the tough cases and working those is what makes a successful prosecutor. Thank you.
Melissa, did you wish to make a rebuttal statement?
I agree that the victims are first and foremost, and I've handled hundreds of murder cases during my time in the St. Louis City Prosecuting Attorney's Office. I've worked with experienced attorneys who I had the great benefit of getting advice from, or getting information and help from, and that also certainly assisted me in prosecuting those very, very difficult cases at times. A lot of times in St. Louis City, the fear is of retribution when you are a witness to a crime, so people would be very scared to come forward. So not only did we have to work with the victims, but we had to counsel the witnesses through it as well. So victims are absolutely important, and it's important that you have an experienced prosecutor who will achieve justice for those victims.
Thank you. Next question goes to Jared first. That question is, what, if any, support does the prosecutor's office need from the public?
Well, obviously the support that we need is victims obviously coming forward, and we need to be able to work with them as they come forward. We also need to understand that, as my opponent said, there are times where people don't want to come forward in cases because either they fear retribution. So what we need is constant contact with them, to work with them. We also need law enforcement to continue to do the excellent job that they're doing. Law enforcement in our area works extremely hard. I'm very lucky to have the law enforcement throughout each municipality, throughout the county, and highway patrol that I work with. And we have to continue to utilize them as a resource in the community to reach out to these people, make sure they're safe. We also have to try to curb the drug problems that are coming in. A lot of times we use the task force to take down a lot of these big cases. We use a lot of informants from the community and a lot of people calling the tip lines. We need to continue to use that to go forward on these cases, to continue to prosecute successfully. But the other thing we need from the public is belief that what we're doing is trying to help. They have to understand that these cases are sometimes difficult. And as long as they work with us, we will continue to do everything we can to help them. At the end of the day, if you work with the public and they work with you, you're going to have a successful community. Thank you.
The public can help us in many ways. We need to involve every member of the community into the criminal justice system. And what I mean by that is we need to educate the community on what we need from them. We need to get churches involved. We need to get teachers, the police, teenagers, business owners. We need to get everybody involved because this isn't just a problem with the criminal justice system. This is a community problem. So drug use and crime faces the entire community, and even if it's one person in one particular case that's affected by it, the whole community is affected by it as a whole. If I'm an atheist, a faith-based treatment program won't help me, but another program will. So we have to look at all of the options that are available. So churches may help one, but not another. Rehabilitation in a certain form with medicine, the medicine rehabilitation might be better for someone than someone who would benefit from a faith-based alternative. Linda mentioned earlier, and I attended that seminar with her to a church, where they talked about raising money from the community in order to send members who came to them with addiction problems to John 3:16 in Arkansas. It's an intense program, and I'll tell you right now, people won't make it through unless they're dedicated to to being rehabilitated. And those are the kinds of things we need to get the community involved with. We need to raise funds in order to offer those to those people. And we need to educate everyone. This is not just a criminal justice system and a police fight. This is a fight that everybody needs to engage in with us. The more information we have out there, the more coordination we have between the schools, the teachers, the police departments. I know we have a DARE officer with the Sheriff's Department, but unfortunately he can't go to all the schools as much as possible. So as much as we can coordinate and get the information to these children and the parents so that they can recognize the symptoms and know what they're facing earlier on than they would otherwise. I think all of that's very important, and if the public gets involved, I think it'll be a great thing.
'em. Jared, did you wish to make a rebuttal?
To add a little bit to what I was saying earlier, the other things that we do need from the public, and a lot of times we get these, I get calls from different businesses, or I get calls from different programs out in the community, and they're somewhat of an outreach to us, and they'll say things like, well, you know, we have programs available for people that are suffering from these opioid addictions, or we have programs available to help people fight whatever addictions they're going through. With veterans, we have programs available to help them with their VA issues, or if they're suffering from, like I said, PTSD. We have different avenues available other than just prosecution. So the public is there. A lot of times we hear the phrase, you know, it takes a village. It really does. It takes everybody in the community to working together, and that may be just to help one person. But again, if you help one person throughout your time, you're successful.
The next and final race that we'll address with questions tonight is the Probate and Associate Circuit Judge, Division 4 for St. Francis County. And Sean McCarter will make the opening statement first.
Good evening. I appreciate all of you being here. I can't tell you how much it means to me that everyone came out tonight on a dreary Tuesday night. I told somebody earlier if I didn't have to be here, I might be watching NCIS at home instead, okay? So thank you for being here. I was born in 1960. I'm 58 years old. I grew up, born in Bonne Terre Hospital, lived in DESLOGE for a little bit, grew up in Flat River, graduated from high school, Central, undergrad, Central Missouri State University at Warrensburg, law school at Mizzou. Been a lawyer since 1984. I practiced for 27 years before going on the bench full time. During that 27 years, I practiced primarily in the areas of family law, adoption, civil matters, although I did do a stint as public defender, and then I served almost 20 years as the prosecutor in the juvenile court system. So I've seen the legal system from all sides: prosecution, defense, and criminal cases, plaintiff, petitioner, respondent in civil cases, and probate cases, which is what my court does. The scenario in my court essentially is that we handle probate cases. What are those? Well, probate cases are cases of involving deceased people and the transfer of their property to their heirs, conservatorships, guardianships, the estate's property of living people. We do all of the mental health cases, and we have a rich tradition in this city of having a lot of mental health facilities around, and so forth. So we do all of that, plus I do 100% of the prison litigation. The prisoners sue each other over everything in the world. And I do, in addition to the prison litigation, I do other civil cases assigned by the presiding judge. So there's quite a little bit of stuff going on in my court. The one thing that doesn't go on too much in my court is criminal cases. Those cases are heard in the other division. The only way I get one is if everybody else, all the other judges are disqualified. So I don't have too many of those, but I do have the experience in that area if necessary. Folks, my judicial philosophy has been throughout my life that you judge a case based on the facts that you hear in court, and you follow the law passed by the legislature. Judges are not supposed to make the law. We interpret the law, okay? And that's what I've always tried to do. And as a result of that, I served almost 26 years, 25 and a half years as a municipal judge before going on the bench. I've never been overturned ever by any higher court. Thank you.
Next is Pat King with his opening statement.
Thank you. I'm Pat King. I'm running for Associate Circuit Judge, as we said. I have over 30 years of experience as a practicing lawyer. I graduated from Mizzou. I spent most of my life in public service, but I also want to tell you that I have tried about every kind of case in every kind of courtroom, whether that's family law cases, adoptions, juvenile cases, the kind of cases that this judge is called upon to hear and decide. I have spent my life in public service. I have spent most of the last 28 years as a prosecutor And in that time, I've spent the last 20 years here as your Chief Assistant County Prosecutor. And I've tried a number of court and jury trials. That is a wide range of experience. I have sat with folks in divorce cases. I've tried those cases. I sat with folks in adoption scenarios. I sat with juvenile folks in juvenile cases. And I have handled the kind of cases that this judge is called upon to decide, including mental health matters. So I have a wide range of experience. Very simply, the reason a number of people approached me about running for this office, very simple. This office, this judge, ought to have and ought to bring out honesty, integrity, hard work, and common sense. And that's why I believe that folks encourage me to run and continue to encourage me as I seek this office. In fact, as a matter of fact, I've now spoken to many thousands of you, and I believe even more strongly that we need and deserve a judge in this position that will give us honesty, integrity, hard work, and common sense. My record has been that of working hard, coming early, staying late, doing what the job required. I think the people deserve that in the folks that they elect. And I have proven to you that I can do that. I've earned your trust, and that's why I believe that I'm the right candidate for this job. Thank you.
Pat, you actually have the first question.
I remember that now. Thanks.
The first question is, Missouri has a system that uses a combination of appointment and elections to place judges in position. Do you believe judges should be elected by voters or appointed? Why? Which entity is in the best position to evaluate the effectiveness of a judge?
Well, let me give you a really short answer to that fairly long question. After having gone through this process, and with just a few days remaining, I believe very strongly in a county such as this that this judge should be elected. I think you should have the opportunity to decide, and not some other entity, decide who your judge should be. And those judges should come before you and tell you why they should be either elected or re-elected. I think the retention process is one where folks just simply don't get involved. As a number of you can probably sit here and say, we don't even know who's on the ballot, who might be on the ballot this year, who's the Court of Appeals judge, for example, that ought to be retained. Right now, though, you do know your candidates that are running for judge, and you have a chance to evaluate them. And I think having popularly elected judges at this level is very, very important.
Mr. McCarver, did you need the question repeated?
No, I do not. Thank you. I agree. Okay. At the local level, elections are appropriate for judicial office. No question. We have in Missouri what's called the Missouri Plan, and in the Missouri Plan, the bigger metropolitan areas such as St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, they have a scenario where a panel called the Judicial Commission interviews applicants. They then submit 3 names to the governor, and the governor makes an appointment. And then after that, that judge serves until, and stands for retention vote, but there's no opponent. So theoretically, the voters could remove a judge under that plan, but it hasn't happened very often in Missouri. I think that plan is appropriate for appellate judges, Supreme Court judges, and the judges in the bigger areas. But in the smaller areas where everyone is able to get to know everybody, I think the election process is certainly the right way to do it. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. King, did you just make your comment? Okay. Mr. McCarver, you actually have the next question.
Sorry, I was directed back by the prosecutor, and I
That's a first. The second question is, education and experience are obviously requirements for eligibility to become a judge. What other characteristics are needed to be a successful judge? Please give examples of how you demonstrate these characteristics.
Well, obviously, the only statutory characteristics are reach a certain age and be a lawyer. But if that's all we went by, we wouldn't have a very good scenario, would we? In actuality, Mr. King read off several different characteristics earlier that are excellent characteristics. I believe that I also display those. I'm honest. I work hard. My day starts early in the morning. When I get up, I read and review all the files that are on my docket that day. I go to court. I hear the cases, and then when I go home that night, I type judgments and often am typing until midnight or after, with a break in there, obviously, to put my 10-year-old to bed or to help her with homework or whatever needs to be done, okay? So I believe in honesty, of course, integrity. I have those same characteristics, all right? The difference that sets us apart, I think, is that I also have the experience. I've been on the bench now for 33 years. I've just finished 34 years as a lawyer. I've been a judge for 33 of those years. In that time, I've never been in trouble, never been disciplined, no investigations, no nothing, okay? Never been reversed or overturned by a higher court. I have proven, I never would have asked for this job. When my predecessor told me that he was going to retire, I never would have tried for this job if I did not feel that I was fully qualified for it at the time I ran. And I still believe I am today, and my performance speaks to that. Thank you.
Mr. King, did you need the question repeated?
No, thank you. Well, obviously, as I said a few minutes ago, the reason I was encouraged to run for this office was because folks came to me and their judgment was that those qualities were needed in this judge position, and those qualities were honesty and integrity, as well as hard work and common sense. I think as well, when you walk into a courtroom, ought to have a sense that the judge is going to decide the case based only on the facts presented, and the judge is going to decide the case based on the testimony and what they see in the courtroom, and they're not going to have made up their mind beforehand. That's the kind of a fairness, to be fair and impartial. And I think that's a very, very important quality in a judge. I've talked to a number of folks over the last many months who have indicated to me that those are the qualities that we most need, and they are most confident that I can bring those qualities to the bench. As a matter of fact, I think my entire career has demonstrated that I have those qualities of honesty, integrity, hard work, and common sense. In fact, I would put my reputation for honesty and integrity up against anybody in this room or on this stage. And I think I've proven that. I think the people of this county know that. They trusted me every day for the last 20 years to protect them as a prosecuting attorney. I believe that when folks walk into the courtroom, they want to know they're going to get a fair shake from the judge that they're in front of. And I believe that that is something that's going to be a very important aspect of the way I discharge my duties as a judge. Thank you.
Mr. McCarver, did you wish to make a rebuttal statement?
I forgot to mention, or maybe I didn't forget, I didn't have any time. One of the things that goes into this job also is the staying up on the areas of law that are involved. And in 1988, I was appointed by the Missouri Supreme Court to be a member of the Judicial Conference or Judicial College faculty. All of the judges every year have to go and get continuing legal education. I've been teaching on that faculty now since 1988, and several years ago when I first became an associate circuit judge, I was appointed to the Trial Judge Education Committee by the Supreme Court, so I'm now one of a small group of people who set the education agenda for state judges at this point. And that's not something that's handed out easily, okay? You earn that over a period of time. And so I wanted to add that. Thank you.
Mr. King, you have the next question. As individuals and in human nature, it's seemingly unavoidable to hold opinions about various issues. Given that human tendency, what can judges do to remain fair and impartial?
That is a really excellent question. I think that is the main challenge, if I may. I think that's the main challenge you have as a judge. You have to, as best as you can, take your opinions and put them aside and look at the case that you have in front of you and decide only based on the law and the facts of that case. If you can't do that, if you can't routinely say, I have strong opinions, but I need to be fair to the people that are in front of me, then you have no business being a judge. On the other hand, I think people ought to be able to know when you take the bench that you possess qualities that they can look at and say, we have a pretty good idea that this judge is going to act a certain way as they take the bench. In other words, this judge is going to be tough on criminal cases. This judge is going to do this case in a certain way. You've got to have that level of predictability, for lack of a better term, so that people know what to expect in that way. But I think, frankly, I think you have to, in every case, make a very, very strong effort to just decide the case based on the facts and not try to inject your personal biases into the case. I think nothing does more to bring down respect for the judicial system, bring down respect for the individual case, the people are trying to get some kind of justice, than to think that the judge has already made up their mind before the case begins. And unfortunately, we have seen that from time to time in our lives, and I've seen that over the last over 30 years of practicing law. There's nothing more disheartening for your clients to try to explain that to them, and I think that's something we've got to try very, very hard to avoid. And that's the commitment I think every person who's a judge has to make, and I've made that commitment.
Mr. McCarver, would you like the question read again?
No, I don't need the question repeated, thank you. Folks, again, as I said earlier, it ought to be common sense. Judges do not make the law. The legislature over there, he used to be in the legislature, he makes the law, or used to, okay? Yes. Like it or not, ask him, all right? It's my job to follow the legislature's pronouncements and the law. All cases have to be decided based on the testimony you hear in court, not the version you read in the paper or anywhere else. You don't really read the paper or anything like that during a case, but you get my point. Your decision is made based upon the facts you hear in the courtroom only, not anywhere else, not any place else. And those facts can be different than what the public is repeating as rumor out there. And then you take those facts and apply them to the law as pronounced by the legislature or the case law that comes down by the Court of Appeals. Every Tuesday, there's at least 20 new opinions handed down by the Court of Appeals. And every Tuesday or Tuesday night or Wednesday night or whenever I can, I'm reading those cases because I have to stay up in order to teach the areas that I teach at the Judicial College. That helps me do my job. My point being, my personal beliefs about a particular law, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, are ignored. I've decided a case always based on the facts and the law, and everyone who comes to my court is treated courteously, and their case is given the attention that it deserves. The most important case to them, and that's the way I view it. Thank you.
Did you wish to make a rebuttal? We will now commence with closing statements in each of the races as they have been in order tonight and in reverse order from the opening statements. So we will begin with the presiding commissioner race, and Linda Dickerson Bell will give the first closing statement.
I think I was the only one that didn't say thank you all for being here tonight, and I do appreciate it. One of the biggest things that I want to accomplish as the presiding commissioner is to open those meetings, make those more public, invite people, make them feel invited and welcome to come out and voice their opinions. I want to make sure that that office is filled with integrity. I also want to make sure that that office is filled with someone who is capable and competent enough to do the decisions of the county, even though that they're decisions that may not be the most popular thing at the time. Certainly won't make you the most popular person in the room, but if you do it always with those people in mind and not with your own intentions, you're doing the right job. Although the position requires that you run as a Democrat or a Republican, I want to publicly say that I will serve all of the citizens of St. Francis County equally. I can work with anyone up here on this stage, and whoever shall be elected, I look forward to working them in the future, so thank you.
And now Mr. Harold Gallagher.
I'm Harold Gallagher. I'm running for presiding commissioner, re-election of St. Francis County. During my term, we have made amazing updates in our systems, buildings, and methods of doing business as a county. I've won both statewide and nationwide awards for my methods of county leadership. Our county is much better than it was just 3 years ago. There's more work to be done, and I ask for your vote, support, in continuing this good work. Thank you, and please vote for Harold Gallagher, presiding commissioner of St. Francis County.
The next race is that of county clerk, and we will begin with Kevin Engler.
Thank you. County clerk position, as I alluded to earlier, is a very difficult position. Sets tax rates, but issues licenses like liquor license and notary public, manages over 180 people. I've got 60 seconds to convince you that I'm the person to do the job. I asked you to look at my resume. For over 40 years, we've managed people. I hired your police chief 20 years ago, still on the job. Besides management, I've managed money for years, which is one of the things that that person has to do. Talk about legislation according to the newspaper in Jefferson City. In the past 16 years, I've passed more legislation than any other legislator, the 300 people plus. I get things done. I have a record of accomplishment. I will have to learn this job. If you give me that opportunity, I will do the job, and I will try to do as best of my ability. I think that's been proven, but that's pretty good. So please help me. I need your vote. Thank you.
And now Andrew Young will make his closing statement for the county clerk race.
Before I get started, I just want to say that these seats are so comfortable. I don't want to get out of them. Everyone here has heard from both sides. The final decision is left with you. Your vote is what makes the difference. When my opponent filed, I could have easily have walked away from the challenge of an opponent so well known with a war chest of over $50,000 to spend on this election. But I never give up. I never quit. From the very beginning, it was a story of David and Goliath. I am a young man looking to make positive changes in county government, a public servant that will serve all citizens despite political affiliation. I wish to give back for all that I have received, and I will serve everyone to the best of my ability. Remember, every vote counts because everyone counts. Vote Young on November 6th. Thank you.
And the next race is that of Recorder of Deeds and Steve Greider.
Thank you. I'm Steve Greider, your Recorder of Deeds, and I'm asking for your vote. Something I try to do in the Recorder's office is always look to save the taxpayers' money. Something that we've implemented this year is we upgraded our server to where it take on capacity of the new program that we're in the process of doing. We updated our PCs, we updated our screens, and we're getting it all ready for the next system that we're doing. We do tapestry, we do credit card, debit card that people can pay with instead of cash or check. We're able to do that, and we have online searches. We also have the Honors Reward, which veterans can sign up and get discounts through businesses, which is a win-win for the veterans for thank you for your service, and as well as the businesses, because the local business sign up, you go and get a discount by doing that. We have the property fraud alert. Someone, if you're taking care of an older parent and you're afraid somebody may come in and try to do something, you can get an alert if something happens with that. Something I love to do is work with a lot of people doing genealogy, and I try to take these moments to help teach the staff of how you can find some of the older records, how some of this stuff is the process that you can find these things to make it easier for them to be able to help the citizens of St. Francis County. And that's something I love to do, and I want to continue to do as your Recorder of Deeds. I ask for your vote and your support. Thank you very much.
The next is the race for prosecuting attorney. The first to give the closing statement is Melissa Gillum.
Since I made the decision, to run for prosecuting community attorney, I made the effort to get out and speak to community members about the issues that they've been confronted with. And I've had the opportunity to talk to many, many people in the community who have either been the victims of crime or actually accused or charged or convicted of a crime. I've also had the opportunity to speak to many members of the law enforcement community across the county and take feedback and concerns and different issues from them as well. And I have lots and lots of ideas on how we're going to address all of those concerns. Also, I did research into other areas that can help. And I want to mention this in particular because Kirksville had a significant meth problem back in the early 2000s, and they reduced it significantly. And in my research, I wrote down a few things about how they said they dealt with it. And the one thing they said was locking them up is easy, focus and attack the root cause. Without letting up on law enforcement, it's time to learn what it will take to help addicts change. Not only addicts, but anyone who is involved in the criminal justice system. Let's take the time to learn what the underlying root cause. Let's focus and attack it. Let's focus on before they even get in the criminal justice system. I have lots of ideas. I think that this county will enjoy the change that's going to come their way when they vote for me on November 6th this year. Thank you.
Next is Jared McGarrett.
One of the things I discussed with you earlier is difficult cases, and prosecutors deal with difficult cases on a daily basis. I want to tell you a story about a case that I dealt with shortly after I became a prosecuting attorney. One of the most difficult types of cases you can deal with is child sexual assaults. They're very difficult, they're hard to prosecute, the evidence is sometimes lacking, and you have to prosecute those cases because you have to believe those victims, you have to believe in a child. The case I'm referring to, sometimes I get emotional when I think about it, but I had a 4-year-old victim. She had a little trouble speaking, a little trouble communicating with the ideas of what was going on in the case. I talked to her as much as possible. I believed her. I sat down with her, I worked with her, I practiced. I took her to the courtroom. I showed her where she was going to be. I take the time with each individual that I can on these cases. It's important to them, more important than it will ever be in a case on something like that. At the end of this case, because I went through and was so diligent and prosecuted as to the best of my ability, I was able to achieve the conviction. The person that molested her was unfortunately her father. At the end of that case, that 4-year-old girl ran up to me and hugged me around the waist, said, "Thank you for saving me." Please give me the opportunity of 4 more years to continue to save people, work with victims, and make sure this county continues to grow and be safer. I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
The next race is that of Probate and Associate Circuit Judge, Division 4 for St. Francis County. The first to give a closing statement will be Pat King.
The office of judge is a public trust. It doesn't belong to me or whoever holds the office. It belongs to you. And you have certain expectations. One of the things that I've learned as I've crossed this county, and I've talked to so many hundreds and now thousands of you, is that you have some very strong views about what a judge should be. Honest, possess integrity, work hard, possess common sense, be fair and impartial, treat folks with courtesy and respect. I've demonstrated I have the capacity to do that. I've demonstrated over my career that I have what it takes to fulfill that public trust. I think that's why so many folks who have a stake in this court system, whether they're folks who work in the mental health system, whether they're folks who work in the courthouse, whether they're folks who work in the juvenile justice system, so many folks have approached me and asked me to be the judge. It's a very, very solemn responsibility. You weigh decisions that will affect people's lives and the lives of their families forever. And you do that very solemnly. I take that responsibility very seriously. I think the second thing that you have to keep in mind as you cast your vote is that you want to look and see who's earned your trust. I'm very confident that everyone within the sound of my voice tonight can say that I have earned your trust as a prosecuting attorney for the last 20 years. I've met victims across this county who have shaken my hand and thanked me for the effort that it took to make their case go successfully. And I've proven myself to the people of this county. I look forward to the opportunity of serving you as judge, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Last to make the closing statement, Mr. Sean Parker.
Thank you. Everybody's ready to go home, so I'll make this short and sweet. Starting my 35th year now, so just completed 34 years of practice, 33 years of which I've been a judge, during which time, as I said before, I've never been overturned by a higher court, never had a scandal, never anything, okay? I believe that is 33 years of well-earned evidence of my trustworthiness to continue in this job. You know, when I went into office as your associate circuit judge 8 years ago, I made a decision at that time that I wanted to be the kind of judge that when I was in private practice, I would have wanted to appear in front of. And as a result of that, I listened carefully to everyone. We have a lot of people trying to use the court system nowadays who are not represented by lawyers. And those people get my full attention just the same as people with lawyers. As I said before, it doesn't matter who you are, who represents you, whether you're rich, poor, white, black, male, female, whatever. I rule based on the facts and the law. I've earned your trust. I've been performing and shown you that I can do it. And I will continue to do it. I need your vote to continue. I wish all of you a good evening as you go. On a personal note, I want to say one thing about my opponent's wife. She is the most talented piano player that I've ever seen, and she and I served on the piano committee together at the church, and I used to go to that church. And if you have never been over to First Baptist Church and heard her play that piano that our committee selected, I recommend it, okay? Thank you. Good night.
We have a big round of applause for our On behalf of the Farmington Chamber, we want to thank you for coming tonight. We're going to ask the candidates to remain on stage for just a quick photo, and if you have other questions or wish to speak with them, I'm sure they will be happy to talk with you. We hope you enjoy the evening and the questions, and remember to vote November the 6th. Thank you for coming.
Did you tell him we're going to be with me? See you later.
Okay.
It was good meeting you too. Let's go ahead and take the pictures of them.